I always believed that ಹಾಸಿಗೆ ಇದ್ದಷ್ಟು ಕಾಲು ಚಾಚು is a very limiting belief, limiting thought. ಅಂದರೆ ಆವಾಗ ಕಾಲಮಾನ ಪರಿಸ್ಥಿತಿ ಇದ್ದಿದ್ದೇ ಹಾಗೆ. Because our economic development was so flawed. Our GDP growth rate was being mocked by the entire world as Hindu growth rate because we were simply not able to grow beyond 4 to 4.5 percentage points. ಅಂಥ ಕಾಲಘಟ್ಟದಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದ ಕ್ಯಾಪ್ಟನ್ ಗೋಪಿನಾಥ್, and there was no concept of middle class back then. Either we were poor or from lower middle class, most of us. We were actually struggling to make our living, make a career and make a future. ಸೊ ಯಾರಿಗೆ ಆಗಲಿ ಹಾಸಿಗೆ ಇದ್ದಷ್ಟು ಕಾಲು ಚಾಚು ಅಂದರೆ ವಿ ಯೂಸ್ ಟು ಅಕ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಇಟ್. ವಿ ಆಲ್ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ ಗಾಟ್ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ಟು ದಟ್ ಥಾಟ್. ಬಟ್ ಐ ಫೀಲ್ ದೇರ್ ಆರ್ ವೆರಿ ಫ್ಯೂ who did not restrict themselves to this thought. They did not got themselves imprisoned by this thought. ಅವರು ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ರೀಮಲ್ಲಿ ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು, ಮನಸ್ಸಿದ್ದರೆ ಮಾರ್ಗ, ಧೈರ್ಯಂ ಸರ್ವತ್ರ ಸಾಧನಂ ಅಂತ. ಯಾಕೆಂದರೆ ಸರ್ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ಗ್ರೌಂಡ್ ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ ಎ ವೆರಿ ನಾರ್ಮಲ್ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ಗ್ರೌಂಡ್, ನಾರ್ಮಲ್ ಅಪ್ಬ್ರಿಂಗಿಂಗ್. ಹಳ್ಳಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಹುಟ್ಟಿದ್ದು, ಹಳ್ಳಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಬೆಳೆದಿದ್ದು, ನಮ್ಮ ಪಕ್ಕದ ಜಿಲ್ಲೆ ಆದ ಹಾಸನದ ಗೊರೂರು. ಅವರು ಸಹ ಈ ಥಾಟ್ನ ಅವ್ರ ಐಡೆಂಟಿಟಿ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ಹಿ ಕುಡ್ ಹವ್ ರೆಸ್ಟ್ರಿಕ್ಟೆಡ್ ಹಿಸ್ ಲೈಫ್, ಬಟ್ ಹಿ ಡಿಂಟ್ ಡೂ ಇಟ್. ಅಟ್ ಸಮ್ ಸ್ಟೇಜ್ ಇನ್ ಹಿಸ್ ಲೈಫ್ ಏರ್ ಡೆಕ್ಕನ್ ಹ್ಯಾಪೆಂಡ್. ಒಂದು ಕಾಲದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಿಡಲ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಒಂದು 30-40 ಮನೆ ಕಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಒಂದು ಸ್ಕೂಟ್ರ್ ಅಥವಾ ಬೈಕ್ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬಿಟ್ರೆ ಆ ಕಾಲಕ್ಕೆ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಲೈಕ್ ಹ್ಯಾವಿಂಗ್ ಅರೈವ್ಡ್ ಇನ್ ಲೈಫ್. ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಲೈಕ್ ಮೇಕಿಂಗ್ ಎ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಸೊಸೈಟಿ. But this gentleman, where we middle class people thought just flying in the air, ಒಬ್ಬ ಪ್ಯಾಸೆಂಜರ್ ಆಗಿ ಏರೋಪ್ಲೇನಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ಹಾರಾಟ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ನನ್ನ ಜನ್ಮ ಸಾರ್ಥಕ ಆಗತ್ತೆ ಅಂದ್ಕೊತಿದ್ದ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ, ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಲುಕ್ ಅಟ್ ದಿಸ್ ಪರ್ಸನ್, ಹೀ ಸೆಡ್ ಐ ಆಮ್ ನಾಟ್ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಫ್ಲೈಯಿಂಗ್ ಬಟ್ ಐ ವುಡ್ ಬಿ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಆ್ಯನ್ ಏರ್ಲೈನ್. ವಾಟ್ ಎ ಥಾಟ್ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್. ಎಷ್ಟು ಧೈರ್ಯ ಇರಬೇಕು ಕ್ಯಾಪ್ಟನ್ಗೆ to even think that I can pull it off. And did he pull it off? He not only thought about it, he not only aspired to start an airline, he did it and did it successfully. So on all your behalf, I want to start this discussion by asking Captain, sir, how did Air Deccan happen?
ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ ಎಲ್ರಿಗೂ. ನಾನು let me start a little from the beginning.
Yes, sir.
ನಾನು ಹುಟ್ಟು ಬೆಳೆದಿದ್ದು ಗೊರೂರಲ್ಲಿ. ಅದು ಸಣ್ಣ ಗ್ರಾಮ, ಪುಟ್ಟ ಗ್ರಾಮ. ಹಾಯ್ ಅರುಣ್. ದಿ ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ವಿಲೇಜ್, ವೆರಿ ಪಿಕ್ಚರಸ್ಕ್ ವಿಲೇಜ್, ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಆನ್ ದ ಬಾರ್ಡರ್ ಆಫ್ ಮಲ್ನಾಡ್. And Guru Ramswayanga, my grand uncle, in one place he writes, ಒಂದು ಸೀರೆನಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಗೆ ಸೀರೆ ಅಂಚು ಈಸ್ ಮೋರ್ ಬ್ಯೂಟಿಫುಲ್ ದೆನ್ ದ ಬಾಡಿ. ಸೊ ಮಲೆನಾಡಿಗಿಂತ ಮಲೆನಾಡಿನ ಅಂಚಿನಲ್ಲಿರುವ ಗೊರೂರು ಬಹಳ ಸುಂದರವಾದ ಒಂದು ಹಳ್ಳಿ. ಅದು ಹೇಮಾವತಿ ನದಿಯ ದಡದಲ್ಲಿದೆ. ನಾನು ಐ ವೆಂಟ್ ಬೇರ್ಫುಟ್ ಟು ಎ ಸ್ಕೂಲ್. ಐ ಸ್ಟಡಿಡ್ ಇನ್ ಎ ಕನ್ನಡ ಮೀಡಿಯಮ್ ಸ್ಕೂಲ್. And my father put me to school for the first time in the 5th standard. ಆಗ ನಮ್ಮ ಸ್ಕೂಲಲ್ಲಿ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರೈಮರಿ ಸ್ಕೂಲ್ ಇತ್ತು. ಬಟ್ ಹಿ ವಾಸ್ ಹಿಮ್ಸೆಲ್ಫ್ ಎ ಟೀಚರ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಲೋಕಲ್ ಸ್ಕೂಲ್ಸ್ ದೇ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಹಿ ಸೆಡ್, ಒಂದು ಸ್ಕೂಲ್ ಒಂದು ಥರದ ಜೈಲ್ ಇದ್ದಾಗೆ. ನಿನ್ನ ಮುಂದಿನ ಜೀವನವನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಯು ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಇನ್ ಎ ಸ್ಕೂಲ್ ಆರ್ ಇನ್ ಸಮ್ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್. ಸೊ ನೀನು ಎಷ್ಟು ದಿವಸ ಆಗುತ್ತೋ ಅಷ್ಟು ಆಟ ಆಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿರೋ. Something like in the Shivaram Karant or Tagore style. So till my 5th standard, all my education was when my father took me around, taught me swimming in the village. He never showed me the sahukar. ಪ್ರತಿ ಹಳ್ಳಿಯಲ್ಲೂ ಒಬ್ಬರು ಸಹಕಾರ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ನಮ್ಮೂರಲ್ಲಿ ಒಬ್ಬರು ಇದ್ದರು, ಸಾಹುಕಾರ ಸಂಪತ್ ಅಯ್ಯಂಗಾರ್ ಅಂತ. ಅಂದರೆ ಒಂದು ಗಾದೆ ಇದೆ, ದುಡ್ಡಿಲ್ಲ ಕಾಸಿಲ್ಲ ಸಂಪತ್ ಅಯ್ಯಂಗಾರ್, ರೆಕ್ಕೆ ಇಲ್ಲ ಪುಕ್ಕ ಇಲ್ಲ ಗರುಡ ಅಯ್ಯಂಗಾರ್ ಅಂತ. ಬಟ್ ಹಿ ವಾಸ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ನಿಜವಾದ ಸಂಪತ್ ಅಯ್ಯಂಗಾರ್, ಹಾಸನ ಜಿಲ್ಲೆಗೆಲ್ಲ ದೊಡ್ಡ ಸಾಹುಕಾರು. ಹಿ ನೆವರ್ ಶೋಡ್ ಮೀ ದ ರಿಚ್ ಮ್ಯಾನ್ ಇನ್ ದ ವಿಲೇಜ್, ಹಿ ವುಡ್ ಆಲ್ವೇಸ್ ಶೋ ಮೀ ದ ದಲಿಟ್ಸ್. ಬಟ್ ಟು ಡ್ರೀಮ್, he read read to me stories of Tagore, Gandhi, Socrates, Napoleon, even in those days. And that's where I'm coming to. It's all about dreaming. Dreaming, dreams create your future. It's Walt Disney who said, if you can dream it, you can do it. So ನಾನು 7ನೇ ಕ್ಲಾಸಲ್ಲಿ ತರಗತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇರಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ when I was in my 7th standard, my headmaster in the village came and said, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾರಾದರೂ military schoolಗೆ want to write an exam, because they were introducing the military school, the Sainik schools, for the first time in Karnataka in the 1960s, because there was hardly anybody in the army from Karnataka then and even today. And just like there's nobody from Gujarat, right? Though, so when I did not know what a military school was, so I asked my father, even ivattu ನೀವು ಹಳ್ಳಿಲಿ ಹೋದರೆ, you can see in the villages, even in Gorur today, military hotel means ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಂಸ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ. Then you can join the military ನಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಂಸ ತಿಂತಾರೆ. That's why it's military hotel. You don't say non-vegetarian hotel. It's military hotel, ವೀರಶೈವರ hotel, ಬ್ರಾಹ್ಮಣರ hotel. So my father, himself a vegetarian, he said, oh, ನೀನು ಹೋಗು, ಮಾಂಸ ತಿನ್ನು, ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಂಗ್ ಆಗ್ತೀಯ ಅಂತ. So I was a small bullied boy in the school. So I just said, okay, maybe. And in that sense of, it was more a dream to get out of the village. Puthi Narasimhachar, one of the great poets of Karnataka, has written in one place, I keep quoting it. It says, Gudiyache Gidadache Gadiyache Hogona Bandiro Hosanadike. Beyond the temple, beyond the woods, beyond the borders, let's go and discover new lands yonder. I think André Gide, the French poet, has said it in a different manner. He said, if you want to discover new lands, you have to be away from the shore for a long time. And the safest way to be safe is not to buy a boat, but to build a house on the land. Because if you have a ship, it has to sail. And when you sail the high seas, you will probably not reach the other side. We all know the story of Columbus. I think it is alleged that when Columbus stood in the edge of Europe, when it was not known the earth was round, before Copernicus' time, he stood at the edge of Europe and then looked at the ocean. And he thought, if the earth is flat, if I'm standing on the land, there must be land on the other side. So he went to the Italian kings, he was from Italy, and asked for some funds. He said, I want to discover India, the land of spices and silk and gold. But the Italian kings didn't believe him. The Spanish kings gave him the money. I think it was the first venture capital. And he discovered America, West Indies, and America instead of discovering India. But they changed the course of the world. Because the Spanish Armada then, that's how it conquered half the world along with the British. The Spanish Navy became the mightier navy than the English Navy. After English today, Spanish is the most spoken language. So it is not resources. As C.K. Prahlad once very famously said, it's being resourceful. So if you have very high resources and very small aspirations, it is a recipe for disaster. So high dreams and low resources is how all success is made. As we know that Galileo discovered the new world from the opera glasses. Nothing as significant has been done after him. So why I'm saying all this is that you asked me, how did I think of aviation? I'll come to that. So it is, it's Goethe, the German poet, who said, dare to dream and begin it. dare to dream and begin it. Genius is magic and power to it. But it's not enough to dream. Your dream must be combined with adventure. But Rudyard Kipling in some other place says, if you can dream but not make dreams your master. So there is some tempering, you can't just dream and go crazy. If you can dream but not make dreams your master. If you can trust thyself when all others about you are doubting you, but make allowances for their doubting too. You trust yourself. That is the first secret of success. So you have to have that inner belief in yourself, in what you're seeing. And vision is a paradox in the sense that vision is the art of seeing the invisible. Vision is seeing. The art of the invisible is the future. So all entrepreneurs in a way, all scientists, they are people who are seeing a future which normally others don't see. So if you are believing in yourself, you have to have that obsession to the point of madness to follow the dream, which requires a courage of conviction. And that's the reason I said dreams create your future. So in that sense, I left my village and joined the Sainik school. Then I wrote the UPSC exam and joined the Indian National Defense Academy in Khadakwasla. Then I joined the Indian Military Academy in Dehradun. And the war, 71 war broke out, so my course was cut short. I went to the East Pakistan war. Bangladesh didn't exist then. It was East Pakistan and West Pakistan. 10 million refugees had come into India. Today, sometimes I wonder, because you have a few thousand immigrants, we all get totally worked up. Immigrants make a nation. America is what it is today. It's because of immigrants. Though there's a madman now who is against immigrants. Immigrants make a nation. If you look at Bangalore, the sign of a vibrant city is immigrants. And we are all, in a sense, immigrants. All of us are immigrants. Raman is an immigrant from Tamil Nadu to Karnataka. I'm myself an immigrant, maybe because I have an anger. But God knows when my they came with Ramanuja probably to Chennai. And why did Ramanuja come there? Because he was persecuted in Tamil Nadu. Because he started his own Vishishta Advaita, which was against Shankara Advaita, and the king was Shankara's follower, the Chola kings. So they ordered him to be killed, and Ramanuja came to Karnataka. Why I'm saying all this, I'm putting it in some context today, which is also, I thought was the reason I was coming here to discuss my new book, which maybe we'll do. I think there is a sense of disquiet in India because of these forces of, on the one hand, there is the appeasement, as they call, which when it goes beyond a point, there's a Hindu backlash. And so the title of my book is India in a Crucible, a civilization in a flux. So why I'm telling this is that when military rule was imposed on East Pakistan by West Pakistan, the reason was East Pakistan is Bengali, culturally, ethnically. They were Bengalis. They look different. They speak Bengali. And as against the Pashtuns and the Punjabis who are tall and, different ethnicity, except the religion is Islam. But there was a huge feeling that East Bengal was getting motherly stepson treatment. So Sheikh Mujibur Rahman rebelled, was an MP, and he was put under arrest. There was a huge uprising, and he gave a call to the army not to obey. He gave a call to the police not to obey. Martial law was imposed, and it was ruthless. A lot of women were raped. They were imprisoned so that the men will not leave the country. And this is not fiction I'm telling. And the reason why it happened was there was a feeling, like today sometimes you're listening to that, even in India, the South is rising against the North because of various reasons. So we need to integrate ourselves. But it was too late, and Bangladesh happened because of this kind of schism that was there between the East and West Pakistan. So millions of people came, and 10 million came into India. Then it was untenable, and those 10 million were put up in refugee camps. They were given shelter, they were given blankets, they were given food during Indira Gandhi's time. And the war was declared, and I was 20, and all my batchmates, our training was cut short. We straight away went to the war, and I was in East Pakistan, and the other side was West Pakistan. And actually 3 months before, the Indian Army was already training the Mukti Bahinis in Bangladesh. They were already inside Pakistan. Skirmishes had started. And so I went in along with my unit to the attack. And the war was over in 15 days, because when you have a demoralized army, a depraved army, which is committing loot and rapes, it is an army which has lost all local support. Morals are not there. So it was easy to win that war for the Indian Army. That was one of the main reasons, apart from the great campaign that has happened. So after the war, I came back to the Chinese border in Nathula, Chola area at 15,000 feet. Then I was in Sikkim, China border. Then I was in Kashmir. And one day I said, after 8 years of training, 8 years in the army, I must do something on my own. So it was 6,500 rupees. That's my money amount, which I got as a gratuity because I had not put in a pensionable service. The salary that I drew at that time was 1,300 rupees, which is a normal salary, and IAS, IPS officer got. It's a bit higher than them because I was in the high altitude. I came home. And I came home to my lands, because my parents were getting old, and they had built a dam across the river Gorur. So all the lands of my family were submerged. So they had given lands in a remote place. So I asked my father, where are the lands that he got in compensation? He said, people are becoming doctors and engineers in my family, chartered accountants. You have left the army and come back. What are you going to do? I said, I want to do farming. He said, we are all leaving farming, which is true. It's not easy. And my father kept telling me, I think, what a madman you are. We spent all my dreams and resources on you to become an officer. You left everything and come back. But I somehow felt that if the army has given me that kind of training, I should be able to make a life for myself. I never once thought that I will not be able to make a living. I said, if I have a small patch of land, that blind optimism which got me into trouble all the time in my life and also got me out of trouble, that propelled me to take up farming. And for the next 10 years, I picked up a tent from army second-hand shop, took a Doberman dog, and went to my farm and pitched a tent there. And like they say, like all farmers, I got into debt, and I got out of debt. I think you had to go through to see heaven, you have to go through the gates of hell. And that's true. But one thing I learned when I was a farmer, looking at other farmers then and today, is that though there are cases of distress and suicides, I think the thing that comes out in farming is that you will never see a farmer not getting up in the morning with optimism. He never disbelieves that tomorrow the sun will not shine, tomorrow it will not rain, that if he sows the seeds, that it will not sprout. I think that is the optimism that is needed for our youth today, because there's things which are bad, things which are sometimes depressing, there's so much of communal tension, communal conflict, social conflict. There's huge wealth on one side. A lot of good things have happened, but at the same time there's huge poverty. As we know that we have got the third largest billionaires in the world, third largest millionaires in the world, almost a middle class, not as much as Europe in terms of living standard, but a huge middle class. But we also have the highest number of malnutrition, highest number of infant mortality, highest number of people below in the hunger level, hunger index in all this. So it is easy to become cynical. Cynicism is slow suicide. You can't give up, and each of us must do what we can to make this a better place. So in that sense, I stuck to farming for 10 years, but farming was difficult, so I did various things. I had an Enfield motorcycle in those days. I came to Hassan to get my bike repaired, and it was getting late, it was drizzling, the dealership was closed. So I said, what happened? No, sir, it's closed for the last 3 months. So then an idea came to me. I said, if the dealership is closed here, in those days we didn't have these Yamaha, Suzuki and all that. We had only Enfield motorcycle, SD from Mysuru, and then we had the Rajdut in the north. There were no other motorcycles. And Hassan was the regional headquarters between Markera, Hassan and Chikmagalur. I said, and this place needs a motorcycle dealership. So instead of going to my farm in the night by bus, I took a bus to Chennai and went straight to the Enfield managing director's office, and I told the general manager there saying that I want a dealership. And he said, you are an ex-army officer, normally people who are dealers are, Marwadis, Gujaratis, Banias, you have no experience. And I said, yes, I have no experience, but what I do know is you are doing a lousy job. There's no dealership in Hassan, you don't even know that it is closed. So I know what a customer wants. So on the spot, he gave me a dealership. So I came and set up a Enfield motorcycle dealership. Then I took a Honda and Luna moped dealership, and I had 8 branches. I had one in Hassan, one in Chikmagalur, and all the other taluk headquarters. So between my dreaming and my doing, there's not much gap. So it's not enough to dream. And as Goethe said, you must begin it, because having the former and not the latter, because there's a gap there. You have to have that leap of faith. And that's what I did. And then I had a Udupi hotel, I had a stockbroking company. Then I did a lot of work in farming, and for which many people do not know, so I want to talk about that a little bit. I got an award called the Rolex Award for entrepreneurship and path-breaking work in silkworm rearing. That gave me a huge brand. I used to be in the paper in those days every day for my farming and sericulture. I used to write articles then. And then I set up a agriculture consultancy company, and giving irrigation and micro irrigation and organic farming, because my entire farming was on organic farming with nature. Then I found that farmers were getting into debt because they were heavily trapped between the money lender who gives you seeds, he gives you pesticides, he gives you manure, and he buys you a crop. So he makes money when it is not to undermine anybody who may be a dealer here, but they give you money for buying the seeds, they give you money pesticides, so they are always in profit, and some of them are also farmers. And they buy a crop because you're already indebted to him. So that's how I got into natural farming, because I found that nobody fertilizes a prime forest. You don't have any disease in a prime forest. You have diseases only in social forestry and agriculture. So I got into agriculture and converted my entire farm, including today because I'm still involved in it. I converted it into a totally organic farming with nature as aggressive against nature. And I got out of debt. So then I moved to Bangalore to put my kids to school. They were studying in the local village school there in Hassan. I moved to Bangalore, and there in the army club, when I was playing squash, and some days tennis in the army club, I ran into a colleague of mine, an outstanding helicopter pilot, was a buddy of me during the war in the NDA. He had retired, he was just 42, 43, and I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm looking for a job." He was a pilot, he was a gallantry award winner against terrorists in Kashmir, but he had no job. And I went to China in 1996 with a delegation of farmers, silk farmers. I was there for about 1 month on an exchange visit, visiting Chinese silk farms. Deep in a rural taluk headquarters, on the bedside I found a book which said Single Window Agency for Investments. This was 1995. And China, which was a communist country, had embraced capitalism shamelessly. Though of course, as long as you didn't criticize the Communist Party, though it was a Communist Party, there was no communism. All the state ownership had gone, and there were karaoke bars, the nightclubs, and one of these Chinese who told me that we felt that if you want investments to come to China, and they had a lot of foreign collaborations then, even now they have, then you need to have social infrastructure. You need to have good nightclubs, you need to have good schools, good hospitals, good education, good life for people who want to come. Otherwise, you will not get talent to come and invest in this country. And I think that's also my worry now, and it should be the worry for all of us today, that our biggest problem is our unhygienic conditions in our towns and cities, the collection of garbage. I don't think you can get foreign investment beyond a point if the country is polluting itself into extinction, if we are choking in our own garbage. And it's true. Any criticism is not criticism against the government. It's just showing a mirror to ourselves. You can't walk in any street in Bangalore or even rural India, especially North India. If you're going by train, you can see it. There's no sewages in the streets. I went to Jaisalmer again just recently. It's one of the most beautiful cities. But if you walk through to those Havelis, all the sewage is spilling into the street.
On this observation, Captain, I just want to intervene you for a second. In a very recent interview, Indra Nooyi, the ex-chairman and CEO of PepsiCo, she makes a comparison between India and China in terms of economic growth. And she says, China, since you refer to China's economic growth, she also has the opinion that China was able to grow at that pace only because they didn't had a democracy in China.
No,
And here in India, we have.
I just want to correct myself one thing, or not correct myself. I want to say, I still hold the worst democracy is better than the best dictatorship.
As a rejoinder, that's what I wanted to ask you. Has democracy failed us?
No, democracy, it was Churchill who said that. I think democracy is the worst form of government after all others have been tried. You know, democracy is the worst form of government after all others have been tried. So, whatever may be the faults of democracy, the only way for the future for India is democracy.
Because in the
we
book,
can't.
because in the book, Captain, you have made this mention that democracy does not promise greatness; it promises course correction.
Yeah, I think. What is democracy? It is actually in a way a science. So I think Richard Feynman said it so beautifully once. He said that it allows you to make mistakes. You do experiments. What does a scientist do? Unlike blind quackery that we have. What does science do? It says science has to accept that it has failed, right? That is the first basic. There has to be an extraordinary honesty in a scientist that when he does an experiment, when it succeeds, he has to ensure that that success is replicated everywhere. Any other scientist will also should be able to. So if you say that an aircraft can fly by using these principles, it can fly anywhere, right? It can fly anywhere, not just in your laboratory. So, the thing about democracy is that you try something, it doesn't work, and you throw it out of the window and you keep improving it. You keep improving it. And that's what democracy is about. It is about debate, it is about dialogue, it is about listening to each other and arriving at the solution that works best by throwing out the things that didn't work earlier, and not any one man, any god has an answer to that, right?
Exactly.
That's
and India probably till 2014 was one of the fragile five in terms of its economic status. From fragile five, we have moved on to become one of top 5 economies in the world. Probably we are in the 5th position as of now. So a lot has changed over a period of time. What do you think are the bottlenecks for India to continue to keep its progress?
I think the first thing is I feel that we have to have total transparency in governance. And as we know, we keep hearing, like for example, let me give an example because I flirted with AAP for some time, Aam Aadmi Party. The reason why some of us joined AAP, of course I left it after 6 months, that because he promised change, he promised good governance, he promised transparency, right? That's the reason why Congress was then deposed, because he demanded that CBI must become independent of, because the CBI was called a caged parrot during Congress's time, not during the BJP time.
So even infamous as a Congress Bureau of Investigation.
Yeah, so we know that. So, but successive governments, when they come to power, they all want to hold on to the agencies which can harass the opposition party. It is true of all parties, not so much before Indira Gandhi, but maybe after that. Not maybe after that. So the question is that whether it was Mamata Banerjee or it is other regional parties, they're all tin pot dictators. It's not just So he criticized Modi, for example, but he became a bigger authoritarian dictator than Modi. Am I right? Though there is criticism about this government being authoritarian, I think that is the bane of our democracy, because when you do not have internal democracy inside a party, then how can you have democracy in the country, right? Parties are ready to kill each other to have fair elections. They want fair elections. They fight for that. But within their own party, if you criticize a party, you are considered anti-party. And if you criticize a government, you are considered anti-national. Every party, even in West Bengal with Mamata Banerjee, the same thing happened.
Yeah.
So I think we need to have a debate within the party so that the elected representatives come and speak to the constituency and ask them what exactly, because once you get elected, they mortgage their soul, body and soul to the party. I mean, that is, they're elected representatives, but they mortgage themselves to the party headquarters. So I think we need to have reforms, and we are sometimes having it, sometimes we're not having it. So I think there's a big churn going on, and therefore I champion, I do not at all envy China blindly. There are certain things we can learn, but obviously a lot of things cannot be done here because of the kind of dictatorship that is there. In China today, you criticize anybody, even if you're Alibaba, you disappear, right? Fortunately, in India, there is criticism against these misuse of agencies, but still there's enough debate going on. You can see enough free speech here.
Yeah.
And I think that is a free democracy means free judiciary, free press, and people of freedom of expression.
Yeah.
Because when there is chaos, only then creativity is there.
Exactly.
You can't have, like V.S. Naipaul said, neither can we have China, nor can we become Singapore or Dubai. A country is not clean roads and flyovers and malls, right?
Captain,
a country is full of culture, education, culture, music, art, and I think we are losing that.
Exactly.
In the governments that are ruling us today. There's not enough emphasis and encouragement for music and art and culture, because without music and art, like Nietzsche said, life without music is a mistake. I'm so also must make a mention. We have a great philanthropist here who is promoting Kannada literature, which I've been hearing. So we have people, and so that's a good. So the thing is, the reason why I said you can't be cynical, because we normally have people coming and saying that everything is bad. Of course it is. Even Purandaradasa said 1,000 years ago, Punyavant Satyavantarige idu kalavalla. This is not the age of honest people. That he said 1,000 years ago. So this corruption and other things will be there, but we can't be cynical, and we have to have the optimism and the courage to speak up our mind. And the question is, you have to be bipartisan when you criticize. You know, if you can't just criticize the ruling party and completely forget what the opposition is doing. So I think if you have that spirit, I don't think you should be worried about criticizing the government if the intention is to see that they serve society.
Yeah. Captain, since you mentioned Mr. Modi, we can love him or hate him, but we certainly can't ignore him. He is probably the most dominant political figure we have in recent times. So the question is, after Modi who, which you have addressed in your book, more than after Modi who, it's after Modi what? So what do you think after Modi?
So, in fact, Rajiv Sardesai wrote an article, or rather thing called Jodi Number 1. So he said Jodi Number 1 is Modi and Amit Shah. And he said, after Modi, will it be Amit Shah or will it be Yogi Adityanath? And I said, you forget that Modi may not retire and Amit Shah and Yogi Adityanath may not get a chance. He may contest again. He's in good health. He's very popular. He's in good health again. But my question was much deeper. I said, as we all seen, that Modi, obviously, all of us have the good and bad in us. There is achievement. There is Modi obviously has done a lot of good things. We can't ignore it. Even his many critics abroad who criticize him have acknowledged that there are a lot of things which are good that he has done. But the question is the larger ones. How should Modi be known? What is his legacy? Was my, I think, question in my book. Because we have our statues today, around the world. It is for Buddha, it is for Christ, it is for Shankara, the people who are united, Gandhi, people who unite. So Modi is a master of mixed messages, mixed metaphors, and some of it is political, you can understand. Some of it is probably he is himself not decided. What should he be known for? On the one hand, for example, he eulogizes Savarkar, but he is also one who goes and pays obeisance to Mahatma Gandhi. You know, in a very foreign country he goes, and Swachh Bharat, though it has not fully succeeded because I think there is a huge cultural issue in the country, governance issue. Swachh Bharat is still a great issue that is challenging us. I think it's one of the biggest challenges for us. It was he who did it with Gandhi, right? So on the one hand, on one sleeve he has Gandhi, and another one he has Savarkar. But they were antithetical. Savarkar's philosophy and Gandhi's philosophy were antithetical. Gandhi was probably the greatest Hindu. He died with Ram on his lips. He never visited a temple, but he said Ram Nam is everything for him. The Bhagavad Gita was his guiding light. The greatest Hindu. Even Einstein said generations to come will scarce believe such a one walked this earth. On the other hand, Savarkar was also a great Hindu figure, but his Hindu philosophy was not the same as Gandhi's. But Modi is swearing by Gandhi and he is also swearing by Savarkar. So which path will he choose? In the next 5 years he will comes to power, which I think he will if he contests, because there is no opposition leader today. Somebody may come up. So I think that's what Modi should reflect, because if you see the three great emperors of this country, all these three were called great. Ashoka the Great, his great-grandfather Chandragupta Maurya the Great, and Akbar the Great. These were the three, I think if it's history, these were called the three greats. Chandragupta Maurya went up to Afghanistan, ruthless. He was ruthless in his killing. Ashoka was even more ruthless. He killed all his brothers, uncles, cousins. He spared nobody, right? Chandragupta Maurya became a Jain. From a Hindu, he became a Jain. Ashoka became a Buddhist. And Muslim, who was also ruthless. In the end, he said, it's not possible to unite this country except you bring all religions together. So it is humanism, it is love that unites all of us. Love is the bridge to humanity. So, what we had to ask Modi is, how is he going to leave the country behind? Should he be known for one who united the country, or known for someone who has divided the country? I'm sure he will reflect and do the right thing.
Thank you, Captain. Our time's up, but I believe it was a fantastic session with Captain, because we can just go on to share his insightful thoughts which are shared in his upcoming book. But since we have only limited time, I would like to thank all the audience for your participation, and thanks once again, Captain, for your presence.